Hey guys, it's Friday night. Welcome back to the Man Cave, and I've got a special guest here with us tonight to welcome to the Man Cave as well. We have James Mack from Smoking Dad BBQ. James, welcome. Glad you could be with us.
Thanks, John. Nice to be with you.
Awesome. Tell everybody who you are and what you do. There may be a few people here who don't know you, and while you're doing that, I'm going to pour a drink.
All right. Well, I'll take the opportunity when you're doing the next question to do the same. So, hi, everyone. My name is James Mack, and I have a YouTube channel and Instagram called Smoking Dad BBQ. And, I started the channel the last couple of years just based off of questions I had a little bit over a decade ago now when I started learning. And, wanted to provide a safe spot for people to get more comfortable mastering their barbecue.
Awesome. And I've got a link here on the screen that's got James's YouTube address on it here, and we'll show you his page here in a little bit. Uh, I'm going for one of my staples here at the Man Cave. This is my Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Select. One of my favorites. What are you having, James?
I've got a little leftover Irish whiskey from St. Patty's Day, so we're gonna
Oh
finish that
boy,
off today. Yeah.
it's not green, is it?
No, just a bottle.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm. It's been a fun week here at the Man Cave. How long have you been into grilling and smoking? How long have you been doing it?
Well, I shorten it. I think, yeah, Sarah and I have been married for just over 15 years, so we got a barbecue right out of the gate. Not a great barbecue. It's just a regular big box store propane grill. It lasted a couple years, and I was looking forward to the day that it died so I can go get something I wanted. And so I went out and bought another gas grill as soon as it died, and we went to a friend's cottage, and they had a big green egg, and it's like, what's this thing? And so we cooked. I'm embarrassed to admit it, but the thing that started all of this, the meal. Any guesses? What's the meal that like sent me down a tailspin of every waking minute being barbecue?
I hope it wasn't pizza.
No,
No.
frozen chicken, frozen chicken breast. That's the meal that did it. And so we had this frozen chicken breast that was so much more moist than anything I'd been doing in the last 7 or 8 years before that. And so I put my barbecue up for sale while we're still at the cottage. Had it sold by the time I went home, and started my journey down into Kamado cooking for about I guess it's probably about 12 years now that I've been on ceramic.
Awesome. Uh, yeah, that's what I was going to ask you next was what was your first grill? I think everybody I know started out on a gas grill. Everybody in my age group anyway. I'm old enough that a lot of people had gas grills, but I'm still young enough that there were a lot of charcoal grills in the neighborhood. And when I was young, I remember that fond summertime smell of somebody firing up that Kingsford briquettes with the starter fluid, and everybody in our community hates that. But man, there are some really great memories that aroma brings back to me every time I smell it. I can smell it. I know somebody in the neighborhood's cooking out. Somebody's having burgers and hot dogs. That's all we grilled back then. But yeah, my beginnings, my first grill of my own was a gas grill as well, and I never really learned how to cook on it. Unfortunately, it took me a while. Uh, do you cook? I know you do a lot of videos, and we'll talk about some video content here shortly. Do you cook a lot of nights a week, or you just cook weekends? How often? How frequently are you grilling at home?
As often as I can. We get some weather that can be a little prohibitive, but I pretty much try and aim to grill 365 days a year whenever I can. So I'd say we probably average 2 3 nights a week, realistically. but if I could do more, I'd try and find a way.
Yeah, I like cooking on the grill as well. I work on the weekends. I work a regular job, so I don't get to do a lot of cooking on the weekends. But every night something's happening on my grill here. Usually, I've got something going on, but I'm constantly looking for excuses to cook outside. I don't have some of the weather challenges that you have, and that's something else I want to ask you about. We have the weather where I am is mild comparatively. Uh, my average temperature here this month has been in the low 50s, and that in 50s Fahrenheit. It's been very mild. March is usually mild, and it starts warming up. I'll start seeing some 80-degree weather here before long, but the only thing that slows me down sometimes is an occasional thunderstorm, and we get plenty of those, and it gets a little windy, and I'm not so worried about grilling in the wind and the rain as I am the lightning and flying debris. It gets windy and trees come down, and it's a mess, but it's not a huge challenge. But you guys have snow and cold. I hate cold weather. And what part? Where are you from? Tell everybody where you're located.
So I'm in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. So that's just if you've heard Toronto, it's about an hour outside of Toronto.
Right. And that's the snow starts falling in your neighborhood at what month in the fall or winter?
Well, that's the thing. It's so unpredictable, right? It's, right now it's 32. Tomorrow it's going to be 57. Sunday I think it's going to be 62. And so it kind of yo-yos. And so this year we ended up really lucky. I don't even think we had snow until after Christmas.
Really?
But then we can have Halloween. You're shoveling snow, so
Right.
it's kind of all over.
Has that changed in more recent years with the global warming, or is it just is it always been that way there?
Well, it's not scientific, but going from memory as a kid, I think we had a lot more snow.
Yeah, that's the kind of way I feel here. We don't get much snow. We didn't get but one snow with any accumulation at all this year, and it was less than a few inches. But we have had snows. There's been two or three snows in my lifetime that were 18 inches or more. So
Yeah.
that we don't get huge snows here, but a lot of people don't grill in the cold weather. Our online community here with all our social media people, we grill year round. Everybody, I like to make jokes about that, and they're going to get worse here as we get closer to in the U.S. south of the border. There we have Memorial Day that comes up at the end of May, and in the United States, the traditional grilling season is between Memorial Day at the end of May and Labor Day at the 1st of September. That's grilling season here. So I like to make jokes about that because I've got a lot of friends that they don't grill any other time of year, so I make fun of them, and just because we can. You know how it goes, James.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Yeah.
Yeah, but the snow and the cold would slow me down. If I was in a situation where we had a lot more of that, I think it would probably make life difficult for me. I've got a friend, Ben. I don't know if he's watching with us tonight. He's up in the Boston area. And I remember very specifically a photograph he posted to my forum quite a few years ago where he had to shovel snow to make a path out to his Kamado Joe. And it was 2 or 3 feet deep on both sides of this path to his grill. And he's standing out there in shorts and turning some meat on the grill or something. I don't know exactly what he's grilling, but he's a hardcore Kamado Joe guy up there in the suburbs of Boston. And I know I just couldn't deal with it. I don't think the cold weather would get me worse than anything. And I might become a grilling season guy if I had to deal with some of the cold that you work with. So when you're dealing with that real cold, what kind of changes do you have to make in your cooking strategies when it's extremely cold?
It's a good question. I mean, like I say, first of all, it's sometimes it's grill therapy. Like it's just good to get out. And so if you're not cooking, even if there's snow outside, what else are you doing? Especially this year with COVID and lockdown. And so I find my tolerance for the cold and the snow gets a lot better because I'd rather be standing by the barbecue than doing nothing inside. So that opens up a lot more grilling days in the year just for the enjoyment. But I do change my style quite a bit in terms of how I prep. And I love on a weekend, a lazy weekend, just working away, doing my sides, maybe doing a lot of it outside. In the winter, everything is set. It's in little containers. All my seasonings, I've already pre-measured everything to get it down to the least amount of time outside. And or I do a lot more dome open grilling. So if I use the Joe or something like that, I just let it fly in inferno mode and spin something, and it keeps me warm standing over that fire.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense to use the grill to keep you warm as you're cooking the food. I do. I like to do open lid grilling also, and I typically don't use my Kamados for that. I've got a couple of other charcoal grills that can be brought to life a little quicker than a Kamado, but they all work really well, and it's quite easy to cook a steak. Well, you can't do the reverse sear that everybody's so fond of with a lid open, but it's quite easy to cook other ways, with the lid open. Do you, before you started cooking on Kamado Joe's, I know you had a couple of big green eggs. Which eggs did you have prior to getting the Kamado Joe's?
So I bought two larges, and then my wife got me a mini Max for Father's Day one year, and a forum member on the Big Green Egg forum put up a mini that they didn't want and just gave it to me. So I ended up kind of over a couple of years with 4 eggs.
Do you still have any of those?
My brother-in-law took 2 of them. So he wanted to get into barbecue. So when my sister and he got married, they took a large and a mini Max, and then friends have some of the other ones.
That mini Max is awesome. I've seen the mini Max, and I think that's really an incredible little tool for quick hot cooks. Out of all the big green egg stuff I've seen, that's my favorite one. I remember the first time I saw a big green egg, it was long before I had enough money to buy anything like that. But I had a friend that ran a outdoor patio and garden place in a town up in the mountains here, and I was delivering some stuff to him one day, and he says, "John, let me show you this grill." And I thought that was cool, man. He showed me, this is called a big green egg. It's beautiful. I said, "That's the most awesome looking grill I've ever seen. How much is it?" And when he told me, I said, "You've got to be kidding me. Who would ever spend that much money on a grill?" And he says, "You might be surprised, man." He says, "You can cook anything on this. You can cook pulled pork low and slow, or you can cook pizzas at 800 degrees. And I said, "Well," I said, "man, I'd have to be cooking a lot of pizzas to be able to afford that." And it's really funny. It's one of those things that grew on me the more I thought about it. I said, "Well, yeah, maybe one day." And I just kind of laughed it off because at the time, I think the one he showed me was a large big green egg. And by the time I got the grill, got the nest, I wasn't going to get side tables, and got a plate setter and a couple other oddball accessories. I was north of $1,100 on that grill, and I had a hard time with it. So, but when I decided to get into Kamado grilling, I had actually saved up the money to buy that, and I was going to buy it, and then I got derailed by this Acorn, the char griller Acorn, which sent me off track and caused me to look at a lot of other things that ultimately landed me here where we are now. But I remember seeing some big green eggs in some of your videos. I couldn't remember if I had seen you cook on those or not, but obviously you like the Kamado Joe a lot better. Do you find what's the biggest difference you see between like your Kamado Joe Classic and the large big green egg? They're about the same size grill.
Yeah, when I was looking, I think Kamado Joe was in their first year. And so when I was looking, there was, Big Green Egg, or there was this new company, Kamado Joe. It wasn't even in my area. They didn't even have any dealers around me at the time. And so, I kind of looked at it and said, okay, well, there's the Big Green Egg, and then there's a red one. And so it's like, well, I'll go lifetime warranty. I don't know about ceramics. I've got a dealer near me, and so I picked, the egg. But over time, then, Kamado Joe just kept coming out with all these features, and the absence of advancement on, the Big Green Egg just started gnawing at me. It's like first it was the airlift hinge and the gasket, and then a better tower, and then charcoal basket, and then the Series 3, the slow roller, and it's like this is driving me nuts. So I took the plunge, started with a classic, and to my surprise, like I'm not an engineer, I don't know any of the science behind it, but it was just so much easier to control and cook with and get a great result. And just the benefit of all those other features, it's like, okay, I fell in love. I was hooked. I was hooked from the first cook.
Right. The big green egg, I know a lot of their owners, they never really thought about innovation until they saw innovation in the market. I don't believe. I was associated with Kamado Joe back before there had been any of that innovation, and the guy Bobby Brennan that owned the company was one of the reasons Kamado Joe came into existence is because he felt that Big Green Egg was dropping the ball on innovation, and that's one of the reasons this company was started. And I think Bobby intended to rock the boat in the Kamado world with some innovations. The original Kamado Joes didn't have any real serious features that you couldn't get on an egg. But what set the Kamado Joe apart, and this is what attracted me to Kamado Joe initially, was everything I needed to do everything I wanted to do was in the box when I bought the grill. I didn't have to buy that plate setter. I didn't have to buy the nest. Uh, I had a heat deflector. I could do direct grilling. I could do indirect grilling. I had a stand and I had side tables, and it was all in the box. It wasn't going to be a bunch of add-on expenses for me to get that. And as things progressed, when Kamado Joe designed the 2 Series grills, I remember Bobby saying something to me very specifically. He says, "John," he says, "I'm not always going to be the cheapest grill." And I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "My objective is not to be cheaper than Big Green Egg. I want to be better than Big Green Egg, and in order to be a lot better than Big Green Egg, it's going to be a more expensive grill." And I said, "Well, I can understand that." And right now, I don't know what eggs cost. I haven't priced eggs. It's real hard to find egg pricing online. I think somebody told me recently that Big Green Egg was doing some online sales now. I haven't followed up on that, but it's their pricing. I think some of the Kamado Joe 2s and 3s are definitely more expensive than the current round of Big Green Eggs. Have you looked at any of those prices to compare?
I haven't looked, but when I made the decision to kind of switch and sell my eggs, if you're right, I'm not one of those people that walks in the circle of life that happens to be fortunate enough to own, let's say, a Porsche. But Big Green Egg kind of works like that, where the base price might not be that terrible, but then you're like, oh, you want wheels, oh, you want steering
Right.
wheel, would you like brakes? Okay, everything costs extra, and
Yeah.
so by the time you add, you open up your Kamado Joe, it comes with an ash tool. Well, that's extra. Grill grippers, extra. Plate setter, extra. Doesn't even come with grids. Some dealers include them, but you want, alloy grids, extra. Uh, your side shelves or table or cart or the nest are all extra. And so when this is different by every market, and every dealer, because sometimes they bundle it, and I'm dealing with Canadian dollars. But in my market, when I priced it out, the Big Green Egg, spec for spec, have all the same stuff, even though it doesn't have a slow roll or anything like that. It was more expensive.
James, they're making fun of me here.
Yeah, I see
Eric
that.
Smith. Eric Smith. He wants to know when I'm going to get one of these torches like you've got. You've got the grill gun. Is it called the grill gun?
Yeah, it's the Grill Blazer grill gun.
The grill blazer. I remember when that guy came out. Darren Wilson's, I think he's with us here somewhere tonight. Darren actually had some pre-production of that, and a couple other of my YouTube friends were getting their hands on some of those also. It's incredible. And Eric, let me tell you, I'm probably not going to have one of those. And maybe James can either corroborate my fear of that or debunk it. So what I'm going to tell you, the reason I don't like that torch is because it throws sparks. And I've tried it. I've got what they call a weed burner from Harbor Freight. It's a $20 or $30 version of that same thing. It's not the exact same design, but it's the exact same concept and the same sort of power. And I've played around with that lighting charcoal. In fact, I used to light my Weber Smoky Mountain with it when I was lighting briquettes. Briquettes don't throw sparks, so it's not a problem. But hardwood lump charcoal likes to spark when you throw a flame that intense on it. And I've had it happen with most of the different brands that I've tried it on. James, have you got any brand of charcoal that's never, ever thrown sparks for you when you've lit it with that?
Well, you're right. I mean, a torch like that eliminates 90%. I don't know if that's the actual number, but for me, it feels like 90% of the charcoal, especially the nice affordable stuff that you find at Costco. It just way too much sparks. I'm not saying it's bad charcoal,
It's
but
not bad
it throws
charcoal.
no, but it throws way too much sparks. I cook on a wood deck. I've burnt holes through my clothes, into the table that I've built before. I've burned marks on it. So I don't like sparks, and so I end up, when it's my money and I'm buying bags, I land on two. I've been buying this last year Gels Devil, and I buy Kamado Joe Big Block. They spark, but not the explosion of stuff getting in your eye, flying on the deck. And most of the time I just use the torch because, especially in our cold weather, I don't want to wait all day, and it just shortens things up by a half hour for me.
Well, I have a torch, but it's not a torch like that. It's a Burns-O-Matic, one of the small butane torches that connects to these little small blue propane cylinders, and it throws a flame, 6 or 7 inches long, a small narrow blue flame. And even with that, I get some sparking. And the reason I use that occasionally, but I've still had it throw sparks back at me and burn holes in a shirt or something. And for time, why everybody says, it's faster to light a grill, and it probably is. But I don't know. Maybe Eric, maybe I'll play with it. Maybe I'll cave in and have a look into those again. I know they're popular, and I want to be one of the cool kids. I really do. And I've watched James light his grills with that thing over and over. James did a charcoal test video a while back where he lit a bunch of different charcoals with that grill, and some of them sparked a lot more than others. Or let me say, some of them sparked a lot less than others. But it's a quick fire. It is. My technique, I've settled into a different routine. I guess it's all about the routine that you settle into. A lot of times, if I want to do some quick, direct grilling, like I said, I may or may not use the Kamado. I may use my PK 360 or more recently this small PK Go portable
Mm.
charcoal grill. And when I'm going to use that guy, I use a charcoal chimney and put a couple starters under it, set it out there. And while I'm prepping my food, that's getting going. I'm dumping it in there. I don't know if I could get away with using a big torch on that. But Eric, I'll tell you what, Eric, I'm going to get one of those. And I'm going to get one to try it because I feel shame. You've called me out. You guys have called me out. I'm going to buy one of those. There's two models of it. There's one that's called the Sous Vide that's a little smaller than the big one, and I might get that one instead of the larger one. James, do you have the smaller one, or do you have both?
No, I just had the larger one,
The
and
larger one.
I think they throw the same. I think the specs on the heat are the same. I just think it's a closer nozzle to make doing a sous vide steak easier. And so they're definitely nice for the speed of getting up to up to temperature. I would say like the one thing, the one downside to it again is the sparks, because there's other charcoal that I like that doesn't work well with it. So I still buy Fogo Super Premium. I love that for pizza just because it's a really low smoke flavor. It's got really great clean burn for pizza. But if I try and light it with a torch, I'm going to burn holes in my clothes or my deck. And so that's the one downside of the torch, is it limits, the type of charcoal that you might want to use with it.
Right. Well, I'm going to get one now. So Eric, I'm going to hold you responsible for this, and James, I'm going to hold you responsible for it too. I'm going to buy one. So we'll see. They're about $150, I think, but I'll see if I'll round one of those up. And when I do, I'll play with it. I'll make a demo, and I can. That'll be a good demo for me to wear my apron, my nice leather apron, because then I won't burn holes in anything. So yeah, we'll try it. So that kind of leads me into another question I wanted to ask you, James. What's besides that? What are a couple of your favorite gadgets that you wouldn't want to do without when it comes to grilling and smoking?
That's a good question.
That wasn't on our list. So, what do you really like?
Well, I'll start with the first one, and it comes with the Kamado Joe that I really like. And I didn't use a lot at first, but it's the ash tool. And I've just been really falling in love with cooking with the Joe Tisserie and moving things around. You watch the Netflix special, and you watch Rodney like firing different parts of a ham and stuff, and I got all inspired. It's like I want to try moving my coals around. Since I started playing with that, it is amazing how
Yeah,
you can.
it is, and it's funny you mention that. I don't have one of mine sitting here. I've got the same ash tools. Do those still come with the new grills?
The last one I bought, the last KJ that I bought with my own money, is last year, and it was a classic, and it came with one.
Okay.
I don't know if the new ones. I got a Pellet Joe. It didn't come with one. Kamado Joe sent me to try, and I got a kettle, and it did not come with one, or grill grippers.
Okay. I don't have my gloves here close by. I use these as a gadget one night. I've got these gloves, these heat resistant gloves that I use, and I have gotten real bad about just reaching in there with my gloves and moving the charcoal. Unless I'm not talking about Pizza Hot or steak searing hot, but any other thing when I'm doing like I see you do a lot. I do when I'm cooking for myself. I don't have a full box of coal going either. I've got just a little bit, and I'll reach down in there with my glove and move charcoal around because my ash tool's never where I need it. I don't have it hanging on the grill. Currently, the one ash tool that I still have that I know where it is sitting over here by this new Alpha oven because I use it as a rake inside that grill to move those coals around from one side to the other. But yeah, that is an interesting tool, and it's a very I'm actually surprised you mentioned it because I never really have considered that to be an essential tool, but it is. It really is an essential tool.
I've fallen in love with
It,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So what else? What else would you not want to do without?
So that, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the Joe Tisserie, which I had a rough start with it, but it was mostly user error, and that's why I generally, I don't like to review anything right away. Sometimes the temptation is to get something, review it. But if I would have done that with the Joe Tisserie, I'd say I don't like this. It's not very good. But as I figured out how to adapt to it and really unlock the advantage, the Joe Tisserie I think has become one of my favorites. Soapstone's one of my favorites. Just love that. I kind of wish I'd discovered the soapstone before the cast iron. They're both great, but I think I use my soapstone more.
I do
And
too,
then
man. The
any
soapstone is the thing. I love it.
Yeah, so that is killer. Let's see what else. I use some probes. I like probes. There's a lot of good ones. I It's not really a probe quality difference. It's more the app, and so I like apps that help give you great data, and you can see what was going on and get better information. So I haven't yet had a chance to try your Fireboard, but that looks really cool. So anything like
Oh,
that where
man.
you get good data.
Well, I use the Fireboard not so much for its data. I'm I'm a numbers geek for sure. I like looking at numbers, but I rarely pay a whole lot of attention to them. I like the Fireboard, that the new Fireboard 2
Hmm.
series, the new fan that they've made is super durable. It's the nicest fan I've seen in a temperature control system, and I like the Fireboard. There are a couple of things I don't like about the Fireboard. One thing I don't like about the Fireboard is it's not weather resistant. They claim that it is, but it is not. There have been some there are countless failures on that device where people have let them get wet. Uh, they're not very weather resistant at all. And the other thing I don't like about the Fireboard is you have to have a smart device between you and the Fireboard for it to work. But I've grown to overlook those things because in my cooking environment out here on the deck, I'm cooking under cover. I don't have to worry about water too much. The not being able to the having to have the smart device is not a huge deal, but the Flame Boss 500, you can control the Flame Boss 500 from the device. So it's really, I like that element about it because there's one less avenue for failure. You know, if my Wi-Fi goes out, I can't really use the Fireboard. The Fireboard, I think, will stay at its last setting if it loses its connection. I think I wouldn't even swear to that, but it's one of these situations. I like technology, but if technology is going to get in my way, it irritates me. So I do like temperature controllers, and the main reason I like a temperature controller is when I decide I want to cook, uh, I'll go set the grill up, put the temperature controller on it, activate it, set my vent where the vent should be set, and I can walk away and leave it. I never have to go back to the grill. It's going to go to the temperature area that I wanted. I can come back in and prep, and I don't have to even worry about going back to the deck until my grill's ready to go. So it's one of those situations where I've grown. I won't say that I've grown dependent on it, but I really have. I really would not want to cook so much without that anymore. I've grown to the point where I would miss it if somebody took it away from me.
Yeah,
But
I'm not quite there yet, and maybe it's just I haven't tried all the options, and I haven't tried the Fireboard and some of those other ones. But I found in the Joe, the reason I like it is if I want to do a really low, slow temperature and I want to go to bed and not even think about it. Like that is nice. But I find I don't get the smoke profile that I want at these lower temperatures. My smoke ring's never as good and the taste is never as good. If I put a brisket on, 220, doesn't taste the same. The smoke doesn't look the same as 270.
Oh, I
And
agree 100%.
and then at 270, the Joe's really easy to control. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it then. So I'm kind of in this, yeah, I have one and it's convenient once in a while, but I'm I I'm with you. I think you've spoken about it before. Maybe stop me if I'm confusing it with another talk, but I don't love a smartphone being between everything,
Right.
you and the grill.
That's me. I'm with you on that. I don't like having to have it, but there's, like I said, there's a couple of things about this the controller that I think it works amazingly well. Is the iCommand the only controller you have?
That's the only one, and I refused to buy one, and they sent me one. So
Have
I
you
still,
have you played with that with the Dojo yet?
no,
Oh, James,
I
you've
just
got to do that. You
what?
have to. It will change your mind.
What?
It will change
How?
your mind about wanting to use that controller. It takes all the work out of putting the Dojo where you want it. You fire up
But
your grill, light that charcoal. Put it if you're going to cook at 600 degrees Fahrenheit or six. Well, oh boy, we can't do that with the iCommand, can we? I forgot about that.
no.
The iCommand won't let you go higher than 500. The Flame Boss will, or the Fireboard will. But even then, James, play with it at 500. On the 500 is a perfectly good temperature for cooking a lot of pizzas. So light your charcoal in two or three small spots, or even one big spot with that big torch, and immediately put the Dojo on. Close the dome. Close the top vent. Fire up your iCommand at 500 degrees, and if you can, run the iCommand's probe up and connect it to the dome thermometer stem. And to do that with the iCommand, you have to use the little clip that comes with the iCommand. The
Right.
center, I think the center holes on that clip will fit right over the dome stem, and then you can run the probe through the other one and have your probe up there and run the iCommand wide open at 500. You could go hotter, but I wouldn't take the probe on the iCommand any hotter than 500 because it's only rated for like 550. But try that, and you'll be amazed. It takes every bit of the work out of setting that Dojo up. And
Well,
when you get an opportunity to play with the Dojo to cook things other than pizza, throw a pan of lasagna on the Dojo sometime. Cook it at 450, and it'll brown up on the top better than it would normally without the Dojo. That's one of the things I love about that Dojo is it improves the browning characteristics on that grill. Have you done anything like that yet?
no, your lasagna video though, well, it feels like it's over a year ago now, is one of the things that sold me on it. Because you're right, that the top level doneness of the Dojo is great. I've been going in and out of just trying to get some healthier. I've been trying keto, and so because of
Oh
that, I
yeah,
don't.
no lasagna for you.
Well, I
Not
say that,
yet.
but tomorrow's video is pizza.
Oh boy.
On the on the Pellet Joe,
Yeah.
and I used the Dojo on it, and I was surprised. The kids said it was the best pizza we had, and I wonder if the lower temperature is actually better for our dough, our style, because I've always tried to go just below the 700 degrees, the max rating for the Dojo, and I wonder if I'm stressing it beyond what's needed for a great pizza. And so
Well, are you
the
making your dough?
yeah, we just do a quick Bobby Flay, I think,
Hmm?
right? It's like a 2-3 hour. I'm not
Yeah.
doing a sourdough starter or anything like that.
Right.
Uh,
But yeah, when you did the pizza on the Pellet Joe, how hot did you cook it?
I put it as hot as it would go, and so the app with the probe in the back was saying we were at 616.
Right.
Fahrenheit, and on the dome it was 530-ish, 540, which makes sense because it's sitting right near the opening of the dough, so it might not get as hot. So I went from about a 3-minute pizza to a 9-minute pizza. Took it in, the kids ate it, like, Dad, this is your best pizza you've ever done.
Does that make you feel good, doesn't it? I don't have kids. I don't have kids to feed. Well, that's cool. I have not put the Dojo on my Pellet Joe yet. It's been something I've been meaning to do. I've got too many irons in the fire here right now. I'm going to have to get back to that. But that's what I also wanted to talk to you about, the Pellet Joe. I know that's the most recent piece you've gotten. Is that correct? You just got that this week?
I did.
I watched your video on unboxing and setting that up. What are your first impressions of the Pellet Joe?
Whew. So, like, my personal bias, I would buy a Classic 2 with a controller myself. It's I don't know if it's half the money, but it's close to half the money. And I personally just love charcoal for a variety of things. The Classic 2 supports, the Joe Tisserie. Joe Tisserie doesn't work on the Pellet Joe. You can get a slow roller, in the Classic 2, or you can get a 3-tier divide and conquer. There's just a lot of things that Kamado Joe has been innovating on that I like a lot, but it's not quite there yet on the Pellet Joe. But Pellet Joe is not for me. I have friends that I've been trying for 10 years to get to join Team Charcoal, and they have a Traeger. They were actually over last night sitting out here doing an outdoor gathering, and I was showing it to them. And he was a friend that I tried to sell on a Kamado Joe 2 years ago. He went and got an Ironwood. I think it's 850. It's Traeger. He's had some paint bubbling issues or a few other little things, but I guess the temperature difference is a big deal, right? I think they're capped at a 450, 500 degrees. So being able to get that 600 degrees, do something like a pizza, do something like steaks, really appealed to them. And so I'll fully admit, like, this is not the grill that I would go out and buy. I would buy a Classic 2 with a controller personally. But for someone who wants more flexibility, I don't like single purpose barbecues. I like a barbecue that I can do low and slow. I like a barbecue that I can do hot and fast. And that's one of the challenges some previous pellets have run into, is they do really well on the low and slow. Pizza and searing steaks, typically not their cup of tea. If you can stereotype and put an entire industry into a stereotype bucket, but it's usually not their strong suit. And that's something that I would say the Pellet Joe has surprised me more than I wanted to be surprised on my first few cooks.
Yeah, I think the Pellet Joe, it took me a while when I found out about this project to try to figure out what the objective was. And there are a couple of things that make this Pellet Joe unique. And one of the things I talked about earlier when I talked on my live streams in the past about the Pellet Joe is my approach to understanding the Pellet Joe is that this is not a pellet grill. It is a Kamado that's fired with pellets. And there's a difference. This is my 4th pellet grill here at the Man Cave. My progression was a Traeger Little Texas Elite, one of the smallest Traegers they make. Then I ended up with the Yoder YS640. Then I ended up with the Traeger Timberline 850, which is a really, really nice pellet grill. And then I still have the Traeger, the 850, and I've got now the Pellet Joe. But there's not a whole lot of similarities between the Traeger and the Pellet Joe, other than the fact that they're fired by pellets. The Pellet Joe will get a lot hotter than the Traeger does. Like you saw, I watched your steak video today. I want you to do the steak video again.
I need to do it. I
Yeah.
had two mistakes. I had two mistakes. I didn't
Oh, I
update the
didn't see any
firmware.
mistakes. There were no mistakes, James. You did everything right. I think the pellet, first of all, was it cold when you did that? I think the cool weather may affect that more than other grills.
Well, that's another reason I do like it. I have a friend with the Yoder, and he'll fill the hopper up, and right now it's just below freezing, and he won't make it overnight on a hopper. I have
Right.
I have a Traeger Pro 575. You can't see it off to the side. It's never in the camera in any of my videos. But the fuel efficiency, I'm already noticing.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a Kamado powered by pellets. It is
Correct.
truly different. Again, I'm the type of guy who wants a manual transmission in their car. Like, I like some user intervention, changing gears myself.
Right.
I'm not the
I'm
automatic
with you.
transmission.
Yep.
And so just because of that, it's never going to be my most favorite
Yep.
Kamado Joe, but I think it is killer in industry because no one has
Yeah.
a Kamado fired by pellets.
Well, I think the target audience for this grill is not you and me.
No, I
The
agree.
target audience for this grill is somebody who the wants to have a Kamado experience, but wants the convenience and ease of firing that thing with pellets. And I can understand
Absolutely.
some of that. I can, and um, it's easy to use. But it is like any other pellet grill. It requires you maintain it. You need to vacuum out that fire pot between every cook, and I think the Pellet Joe is a little more sensitive to that than some of the other pellet grills I've cooked on. You definitely need to do it every cook, but I've had I was pleasantly surprised with what I've done on the Pellet Joe so far. I've been happy with it. I haven't had anything come out. Let's say I haven't had anything outside of my expectations on it, with one exception. I think it does poultry better than the other pellet grills I've had. The If you've got a Traeger, so you know what the Traeger fire pot looks like. It's round and it's shallow. I believe that I don't know this for sure because I'm not an engineer. I did not have any design input into this thing at all. But the shape and the depth of the fire pot on this grill, I think, produces more smoke than any of the other pellet grills I've had. When I've run other pellet grills up above 300 degrees, you lose any visible smoke. I get visible smoke from this grill all the way up north of 450 degrees, and I never have had that on any of the other pellet grills. Have you noticed that on yours?
Yeah, I haven't done. I will eventually do just the same food on both to try and compare. I love your call on chicken. I haven't had a chance to try chicken on it yet, so I'm really looking forward to trying that.
Mm-hmm.
And so compared to a Traeger or another pellet grill that I've used, what else do we have that I've used? I've used the Yoder, I've used Camp Chef, and it's a Broil King. I think it's a Canadian company. A couple of people have them in the neighborhood. And Green Mountain Grills. I would say in that category, I haven't used all the grills, but out of those ones, yes, I'm noticing something is different with the smoke signature. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I didn't know if it was the fire pot. I actually thought it was more maybe the exhaust venting. I didn't know if the Kamado dome
It might
somehow.
be. It very well might be. I don't know, but I do know that I can see it and I can smell it. And I did not have that on any of the other pellet grills at the upper temperature. When I run the Traeger in the super smoke mode at 225 or less, I get that. But when I start cranking the Traeger up, I lose it, and I don't lose it on this grill. And because of that, I think the performance on this grill may be a little better. But like I said, talking about chicken, when it comes to chicken and turkey, I have been a believer for a long time that the pellet grill does a better job of that because it regulates the smoke way better than anything else. I like the light smoke profile, and people who have been listening to me for too long know I like a light smoke profile on everything, but the pellet grill, that's one of my draws to the pellet grills. It gives me that, and I don't have to work for it. It automatically happens. I don't have to dial back or use super clean charcoal or make sure that my grill's super clean before I start, because we're going to get that. But the the thing that impressed me most about the Pellet Joe was what I thought was how well that thing's built. When you put yours together, did you come across any piece of that grill or any part of it that you didn't think was just incredibly well made?
No, first again, every time I open a Kamado Joe, I built 4 eggs, and it's a good product, but you build it all yourself. Every band, every screw, everything goes together, and it's a big process. The packaging of the classic, the Big Joe, the Pellet Joe is awesome, and the craftsmanship on this is awesome. I was really impressed. Again, not the target market for it. My personal preference, like I said, would be get a classic and a controller if I wanted the control. But this is a well-made grill. And so,
Yeah.
oh, hey, we got some Canadian folks hanging out here too. Andrew.
Yeah.
Hey, cheers, Andrew.
He made a comment earlier. He was looking forward to being on live with you tonight. I saw a comment he
Ah,
posted on one of the posts I made announcing this stream. He's local to you up there somewhere. So
absolutely.
okay. Uh, Now, yeah, the price point of the Pellet Joe also, I believe, is crazy. I know it's an expensive grill to build, but it is $2,000, and that is a lot of cash for a grill that size. Two, okay, I don't know what $2,000 US currently converts to in Canada. Do you have an off the hand idea of what that lands at north of the border?
Yeah, it's in Canadian dollars. The Pellet Joe is $100 Canadian more than the 850 Traeger. I
Okay,
don't
I don't know
know
what.
so that would be about $70 US more for
Okay,
the than the Traeger 850. So the Traeger 850 is 24.99
so it's
Canadian.
$2,600.
Yeah, and this is 25.99,
Yeah.
$2,600
Okay.
Canadian.
So it's
And
not a cheap option.
no, but in that space, you know, if you look at warranty, you look at fuel consumption, and I'd actually love to run the math on this. But if you start thinking about, in Canadian weather, where, you see my breath tonight, maybe the
Hmm.
light's not standing out, I almost think this thing comes in way less money after a year of use than most other pellet grills. Because any other one that I've used, the fuel consumption for 8 months a year is nuts.
Right. I noticed that about that grill also, and that was one of the things that worried me right off the bat is when they said this thing's got a 10-pound hopper. I said, "Oh boy," because I know how far I can go with a 20-pound hopper on the Traeger, and I said that thing's going to have to be really efficient. But the first low and slow overnighter I did just to see how long it would run, I had loaded that hopper as full as I could get it. I mean, pellets were starting to fall out onto my deck, and I ran it for 12 hours or so before I opened the door back, and I think I probably could have run it for 2 or 3 more hours at least before I was going to have to add any pellets to that. It's super efficient with that. I mean, it's got the same insulation properties as a ceramic Kamado. It's got efficiency, and it's probably even more efficient than the ceramic Kamado because once you get below the grill grate a couple of inches, you've got the base there. You're not heating the same thermal mass on this thing that you are on a Kamado. It's no more. It's probably half the thermal mass of a Kamado with the same amount of insulation or the same insulation properties you have with the top half of a Kamado. It's really efficient. It's gonna it's going to burn half the pellets that you would burn in most of these other ones, and even less if you want to talk about the Yoder. The Yoder was a pellet. My Yoder was a pellet hog. It it couldn't go 12 hours sometimes on a full hopper of pellets. But on the other end of this spectrum, you also have the Kettle Joe, which is it's at the extreme opposite end of the Kamado Joe spectrum. This is a new product, and I found out today actually that mine should be here this weekend. So I'm actually looking forward to getting my hands on one of those. And you were the first person to get a video up on YouTube with the Pellet Joe, and you've got some additional cooking videos. You've been hammering them out this week, James, with the Pellet Joe and the Kettle Joe all showing up at the same time. Has your family forgot what you look like this week, or are they just eating real good every night?
They're actually sick of barbecue. Wait. Now, the good news is every other video, I got a little bit too far ahead. I took some vacation before Christmas and then again during Christmas, and I did my whole keto series. And so I actually, like from January, I had videos into April before the new year started. And so when some stuff started showing up, I was able to, well, I got nothing else to do this weekend, start cooking on it.
Right.
And so I did that. But, you know, I'm currently thawing another brisket to try on the Pellet Joe. And I had just done a brisket last weekend on the Kettle Joe. And so my family did give me a little bit of the another brisket. But I can't wait to, I really want to know. I want to try it. So we're going to go ahead and fire that up this weekend.
Well, that Pellet Joe, or the Kettle Joe, I'm sorry, I'm really excited about the Kettle Joe. And one of the main reasons I'm excited about the Kettle Joe is it's coming in at a price point that's lower than everything else that Kamado Joe makes. And I think this is going to bring a lot more people into the Kamado Joe family that we haven't had or wouldn't have had otherwise. And I'm really looking forward to putting together a long series of videos on this grill, because I think this grill, it's kind of like when I had my Acorn in the very beginning of my YouTube days, is I wanted to push that thing and do absolutely everything I could do with it. And then I still found myself wanting more, which is why I ended up with a Kamado Joe. But this is going to serve Kamado Joe, I think, in a lot of different ways. It's going to bring more people into the Kamado Joe family, but it's also ultimately going to sell more ceramic Kamado grills, because I think this is a tool that will just wet your whistle and make you want more. And but I'm really excited to see what I can do. I've got a lot of hours on kettle grills. I had Weber kettles before I had the that char grill or Acorn, so I know how they behave. And I had a Weber Smoky Mountain, which was a little different animal also, but this thing's got the ceramic firebox in it, so it's got some heat retention capabilities that never existed in a kettle. And the thing I hated the most about my Weber kettle was when you had to open the lid, all your heat's gone, and it doesn't come back quickly. It takes it a while. And I'm hoping that this grill, with that ceramic firebox, the ceramic firebox pedals, we're going to have some better heat retention qualities. When I was watching your videos, one of the things that I kept wanting to say, I wanted to reach in there and say, James, you need to shut that lid. Your temperature's going to run away. Did you notice any spiking of the temperature when you had the lid open, when you closed it back? Did it want to run away with you at any point?
That's a good question. I didn't really notice that. Now I did throw a water pan in, and so when I had temperature spikes, so I was aiming for 250 degrees on my brisket, and when I went to bed, I was seeing 210, but that was okay because I had set the grill up, and it was landing at about 270 before I put the water in. So once the water started to steam and the temperature dropped to 210, 212, I wasn't worried about that because that was just the steam, I think, impacting the temperature. And so when I look at my data the next morning when I woke up, I saw a couple hours at that 210-ish, and then I saw a spike in the chart around 4 in the morning. It go back to 270 degrees, which is exactly where I had my vent settings set before I put the brisket on. And then around 5:30 in the morning, the temperature dropped. And so even though the video suggests like it looks like I'm opening the dome all the time, it went 2 hours without looking. I checked at 1 in the morning, and then I didn't check again until 8 in the morning. And then I think the last bit was putting it in foil. So it was really 4, 5, 6 hours in between each one of those, moments.
Well, that brisket looked amazing. That brisket looked as good as any I would have ever expected to see coming off a Kamado grill. It was tender. It had that jiggle, and it was definitely running juices when you cut into it. Had a beautiful smoke ring on it. So
it was good.
How could it have been better in your mind in any way?
Well, I don't cook brisket every week, and so forgive the I'm still I'm not Aaron Franklin when it comes to brisket. That's easily one of the top 3 briskets I've ever cooked in my life, and I was
Good.
super impressed off the Kettle Joe. First cook, that was a heck of a brisket, and so I was really like, if we just want to look at a grill and a price point and the quality of the brisket, that was amazing.
That's
I also
awesome.
had to work at it.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And so I did have to work at it a little bit more than I'm used to, because my Big Joe, I once last year, I was just curious how long it would go. I filled it up, I lit a fire, and I let it go. And I started that fire on Friday night, thinking on Monday when I wanted to cook dinner for family, it would have been long out. And it went 56 hours and was still going and interfered with my dinner.
It's crazy. I've had weekends here where I've lit the grill on Friday and I haven't even attempted to cool it down until Sunday evening. Cooked on it all weekend, and just close the dome, stop the vents down, and fire it back up when I'm ready to light it up again. It's ready to go. Well, we're coming up on, we've gone just a hair over an hour here. I try to keep these things fairly tame in lengths of time, or in terms of time. I'd like to get wrapped up here. Do you have anything going on, anything coming up, or anything you want to tell everybody about ahead of time? You got anything cool happening?
The next, I can tell you what's coming for some content. And so, I've got a couple videos coming out over the next few weeks, and doing hot and fast versus low and slow. And so, like you said, I think you should be grilling all year round, but I know a lot of friends and family start Labor Day start May long weekend and go till Labor Day. And to help kind of pick your kind of methodology, I'm doing some baby back ribs on one Joe slow, kind of in the 220 through 230 range, doing the 3-2-1 method versus hot and fast. The next week I'll have a pulled pork low and slow versus hot and fast. And then I think April 1st, didn't mean to land on April Fool's Day, but it's a brisket. That's no joke. And we'll do low and slow, hot and fast. So the same method did not win all 3 of those. And so just let you know that's coming out, and just really helped, confirm some things I thought, teach me a few things I didn't know, and help you pick the right method depending on the protein that you're cooking, especially on a Kamado Joe, where you can unlock that potential and performance a little differently for each of those cooks.
Awesome. Well, James, I appreciate you coming on with me tonight. You're the first time I've had a guest on our new platform here, and I can tell by looking, we've got a way bigger crowd here tonight than I've ever had before, and that's partially because of having you on here. So it's mostly because of having you on here. We've got well over twice as many people as I normally have. So I appreciate you coming with me tonight, and hopefully we can do this again at some point in the future. If you'd like to come back on, you just let me know, because you're welcome to come on with me about any time. and we'll keep things going here. I'm looking forward to getting that Pellet Joe or the Kettle Joe put together so I can compare some notes with you and some of these other guys that have that grill put together already. I'm really excited about it. So, James, thanks a lot. And everybody that's with us here on YouTube and Facebook tonight, I thank you for hanging out with us. And until next time, have a good evening from the Man Cave.